Power in toxic spaces rarely looks like what people assume. The loud ones always believe volume equals authority. The biggest group thinks numbers guarantee victory. The clan with the most mouths becomes convinced that echoing each other counts as strength. But real power shows up in the quiet corners, held by the person who never needed a crowd to validate their thoughts. The lesson reveals itself slowly, through patterns everyone ignored. The loudest voice cracks first when truth arrives. The largest group fractures once tension hits. Meanwhile, the calm one remains steady, unaffected by noise or performance. That steadiness shifts the atmosphere more than shouting ever could. In a world where people cling to attention, the one who carries clarity becomes the real threat. Silence becomes a blade sharper than any speech. Stillness becomes control no number of followers can match. The loud only appear strong until reality touches them. A workplace full of inflated egos demonstrates this better than any lecture. The manager who raises their voice to feel important loses composure the moment accountability enters the room. The clique that bonded through gossip scatters when consequences approach. But the steady worker, the one focused on growth instead of drama, quietly becomes the anchor everyone leans on. Their influence grows not through force, but through consistency. People trust the calm presence more than the noisy leader. And without lifting a hand, the quiet one ends up shaping the direction of the whole place. The lesson becomes clear. Stability holds more weight than volume. Competence holds more force than manipulation. Those who chase attention fade quickly. Those who cultivate depth end up steering everything from the background. Friend circles work the same way. The loud friend who dominates every conversation falls apart when their flaws are finally exposed. The large group that once mocked others loses its unity when real conflict appears. But the one who spoke with intention, who didn't need applause, who listened more than talked, becomes the one others run to when life breaks open. There is a unique power in being the person who never demanded the spotlight. People sense safety in their presence. Their advice carries weight because it comes without ego. A single sentence from them hits harder than a whole speech from the louder voices. The largest crowd becomes irrelevant the moment authenticity enters the room. Even in family dynamics, the quiet member often carries the most unseen strength. The ones who scream for authority rely on fear. The ones who speak for the group rely on pressure. But the relative who observes, who thinks for themselves, who doesn't fall into emotional traps, becomes the one who ends cycles without announcing anything. Their detachment exposes manipulation naturally. Their calm refusal to engage in old games disrupts the entire power structure. And while relatives argue, bargain, and attempt control, the quiet one walks forward, unaffected, creating a new reality without anyone's permission. The lesson stands tall. The loud family member only appears powerful until someone stops reacting. In toxic relationships, this truth becomes even sharper. The controlling partner uses volume, emotion, and guilt to win every argument. Their strength seems unbeatable in the moment. But once the other partner sees through the pattern, once they stop responding the way they used to, the entire dynamic collapses. Control cannot survive when the target stops feeding it. The loud voice suddenly feels hollow. The constant pressure stops working, and the quiet partner, the one slowly reclaiming clarity, becomes the real force in the relationship. Their silence speaks louder than any accusation. Their distance reveals more than any confrontation. And the controlling one begins to panic because their power never belonged to them. It belonged to the reactions they could provoke. Online communities reflect the same principle. The most vocal group believes their numbers give them authority. They cheer each other on, attack anyone who disagrees, and mistake mob mentality for strength. But the person who moves with logic, who doesn't fold to pressure, who speaks once with precision, often dismantles the entire narrative with one clear statement. A single well-placed truth can erase 1,000 noisy opinions. And when the noise fades, people remember the clarity, not the crowd. Influence built on depth lasts longer than influence built on volume. The silent observer becomes the one others follow when the dust settles. The concept applies even to personal growth. The mind filled with noise becomes reactive, scattered, and easily influenced. The mind that learns stillness becomes strategic. People mistake quiet thinking for slowness, yet those same thinkers often make the most powerful moves. In toxic environments, introspection becomes armor. It allows someone to understand what motivates others, what fears drive them, what insecurities they hide. And once someone understands those things, the noise loses its impact. Power shifts to the person who knows themselves deeply, not the one who shouts the most. Self-awareness becomes the foundation of silent authority. The clan that once believed unity gave them dominance eventually realizes unity without truth is weak. The group that mocked others realizes that mockery cannot survive exposure. The loudest member learns that volume cannot fix a collapsing narrative. Meanwhile, the quiet observer remains calm, watching each lie contradict the last. When everything finally falls apart, the group looks around for someone stable to blame or follow, and the only person left standing is the one who never needed the crowd in the first place. The collapse writes the lesson more clearly than any speech ever could. When the story finally reaches its end, the truth becomes simple. Power hides in the unexpected places. It sits with the person who listens before acting. It grows in the person who refuses to be rushed. It builds in the one who stays calm in chaos. And most of all, it belongs to those who never needed attention to validate their strength. The loud burnout. The big groups fracture. The unstable collapse. But the disciplined one, the quiet one, the observant one, becomes the force shaping everything, whether they seek recognition or not. The strange thing about deceit is how loudly it moves when no one has the courage to listen. A whole group can spend years crafting lies, layering stories, shaping narratives, and convincing each other that their version of events is the only truth that exists. The confidence grows because no one questions it. The arrogance expands because silence feels like approval. But beneath their noise, someone watches quietly. Someone pays attention to the pauses between their words, the way their eyes shift, the cracks in their rehearsed unity. Nothing dramatic happens at first. Just observation wrapped in patience. That patience becomes a blade sharper than any confrontation. The clan dances around its own illusions, unaware that each move reveals more than it hides. And when the moment arrives, the truth steps forward so calmly that no one even realizes the game flipped. The exposure doesn't begin with shouting or rage. It begins with clarity. Clarity always moves differently. It doesn't rush. It doesn't crumble. It doesn't seek validation. It simply waits for the right moment. In toxic groups, the truth is never hidden well. It just waits for someone disciplined enough to see the pattern. Watching the clan unravel is like watching a puzzle solve itself. Their lies clash. Their stories overlap. Their secret alliances start contradicting each other. The person observing doesn't interfere. They don't push. They let the clan's own noise reveal the weak points. When someone has enough emotional distance, the whole structure of manipulation becomes visible. The exposure is not an attack. It is a mirror. And mirrors make fragile people panic without a single word spoken. In environments built on group loyalty, the moment one person stops participating in the dysfunction, the entire system becomes unstable. The clan thrives on shared delusion. Without participation, their confidence weakens. The observer begins responding differently. Less fear, more calm, more precision. That shift alone causes panic. People who rely on control sense danger before evidence appears. They feel the loss of influence in their bones. The clan tries harder to provoke, to pull the observer back into old patterns, to regain control through guilt or intimidation. But calmness is a language they never learned to understand. Silence becomes strategy. Distance becomes protection. Truth begins to gather strength quietly. Psychologically, manipulators lose power the moment someone stops reacting emotionally. The clan depends on response. Without reaction, their games collapse. They grow confused. They argue among themselves. They blame each other for losing grip. The observer watches from a place of internal clarity, noting each crack forming. The beautiful part is how natural it looks. No big reveal. No dramatic showdown. Just a slow shift where each person in the clan accidentally exposes themselves. Words slip. Faces shift. Hidden alliances crumble. The truth comes out like water leaking through every false wall. And the clan never suspects who positioned those walls to break in the first place. In friendships, the exposure hits hardest. Friends who once whispered behind closed doors now stumble over their own narratives. The one they underestimated becomes the one holding every missing piece. They gossip to maintain power, but their stories contradict. Suspicion rises within their own circle. The clan becomes paranoid, thinking enemies surround them. never realizing they created their own collapse. Meanwhile, the observer moves in peace, watching the clan unravel not from revenge, but from their own chaos. The cleanest victories are the ones where no force was used, only truth placed in the right places at the right time. Family dynamics can be even more intense. A group that built its identity around hierarchy and fear suddenly finds its foundation slipping. The person who once tolerated disrespect stops bending, stops explaining, stops internalizing blame. That quiet shift rattles the clan more than any argument ever could. The exposure reveals which relative fed the lies, who held the strings, who manipulated peace, who pretended innocence. And when those truths surface, the collapse feels spiritual. Families often hide behind the idea of unity. But unity without honesty is just a nicer word for control. And control dissolves the moment someone decides to live without permission. Workplaces show the same pattern in a different style. People who once teamed up against someone begin turning on each other when the truth disrupts the group rhythm. The clan that once operated like a machine suddenly loses its coordination. Small mistakes uncover bigger lies. Emails expose hidden motives. Conversations reveal contradictions. The observer doesn't need to fight for reputation. The clan destroys their own credibility by trying to maintain the illusion of strength. In every toxic workplace, the truth always arrives wearing a calm face and carrying undeniable evidence. And those who built power on manipulation fall the fastest when the calm one finally moves. As the exposure spreads, the observer grows stronger not through victory, but through the realization that silence can be strategy and patience can be power. There is a strange satisfaction in knowing that no lies were necessary to win. No games. No revenge. Just awareness. The clan collapses under the weight of their own deception, proving that false unity is always temporary. Their downfall is not cruel. It is natural. People who rely on deceit eventually choke on their own stories.